Elden Ring Nightreign has been out for over 2 months, and the public response has been more inconsistent than my upload schedule. At launch, the reception was all over the place. Mixed reviews on Steam, divided opinions among critics, casual players, and veteran Soulsborne fans. But today, the game holds a solid, very positive rating, and now that people have a clearer idea of what it's trying to be, the conversation around it has generally settled into a more favorable tone. Those who were either unimpressed or lukewarm seem to have simply moved on. Over the past couple months, I've found myself thinking a lot about Nightreign, not just my own experience, but about the broader question it raises. Who is Nightreign even for? Honestly, that's not an easy question to answer. Nightreign is what I'd call a blender game. It pulls influences from across the gaming spectrum and fuses them into a Souls-like foundation. There's this shrinking circle mechanic borrowed from Battle Royale games, though it obviously isn't one. There's randomized loot and some roguelike flavor, but not enough to classify it as a true roguelike experience. And of course, it has the core Souls DNA, but rearranged and recontextualized enough that it doesn't feel like a traditional Souls-like. It's a chaotic mix of ideas, for better or for worse. But what really fascinates me about Nightreign, and the way it stands out amongst From Software's catalog, for me at least, is the original vision of Junya Ishizaki, to create a short-form RPG. That's how they pitched it. Not as a roguelike, not a live service game, and not a battle royale thing. I can't believe people still call it that. Just a condensed, more accessible Souls-style experience. And honestly, that's exactly the kind of game I've been craving from them for quite a while. I probably got into the From Software games with Demon's Souls Remake in 2020. I'd tried Dark Souls and Bloodborne years prior, but they didn't click with me at the time. Basically, I was just young and stupid and thought the game was too hard. You know, you've heard the story before, same kind of thing that happens to a lot of people. But once I finished Demon's Souls Remake, though, I was hooked. Everything that wasn't clicking with me in Dark Souls and Bloodborne back then clicked with me now. When I finally killed my first boss, it was a rush, and I just speed ran the game in like 2 days because I just couldn't put it down. Then I went on an entire Soulsborne Kiro marathon. I revisited older titles even from FromSoft, like Eternal Ring, Kuon, Shadow Tower Abyss, Kingsfield. Hell, I even have Kingsfield physically now. And of course, I devoured the absolute masterpiece that is Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. Seriously, Souls fans, if you haven't played this game, I know it's different, just play it. It's so good. I could make a whole video on that game alone. Basically, FromSoft has become my favorite game developer of all time, hands down. And there are 3 things I've come to expect from any FromSoft game, even going all the way back to their first games in the medium. A wholly unique experience that, for better or for worse, will be unlike most things you'll ever play, a refusal to conform to industry norms, and a commitment to making what they themselves find fun or interesting. And Nightreign continues that legacy, but what makes it fresh is its brevity. Don't get me wrong, I adore the massive sprawling adventures of Elden Ring and Dark Souls, but sometimes I don't have time to put 50 hours into a big Elden Ring run, or even 12 hours into a Dark Souls 3 or Bloodborne run, or even a 5-hour-long session of Dark Souls 1 or Demon's Souls. And sometimes when I stop midway through a playthrough, it can be hard to remember where I left off or how to regain my rhythm, and I end up just dropping the character entirely. Nightreign avoids that problem. Most runs clock in at around 35 to 40 minutes long enough to feel rewarding, but short enough that the pace stays engaging. It's the perfect bite-sized Souls experience. People often label Nightreign as a roguelike, and while it borrows elements, I think that's misleading. To me, it's more a speedrun simulator. It's the Souls formula we've all internalized over the last decade, accelerated, intensified, and streamlined, and that's pretty much everything I love about it. And the fact that it supports co-op is just amazing to me, a huge plus. While most of my playtime has been solo, my first run with my friends was unforgettable, and with duo modes having come out, I've enjoyed playing it with my girlfriend. We've been having an absolute blast with it.
All right, let's
Want to be Nameless King?
If it's Nameless King, I'll piss myself. Oh my god!
The relic system, it's imperfect, but it offers enough flexibility to tangibly change how you might kit yourself out for a run. The 8 playable characters are genuinely so impressive, and especially for FromSoft's first go at this kind of design. Wilder is basically just John Dark Souls with a grappling hook and a pile bunker. He's so fun. Iron Eye makes archery fun for the first time since Dark Souls 2, but even better thanks to that just ridiculous marking skill. Raider is your classic Elden Ring jump R2 bonk archetype. Executor is Wolf with Sekiro with a little more emphasis on the wolf. Recluse plays like a really fun backline mage. Revenant is a unique interpretation of the support archetype, and Duchess feels like we're finally getting a taste of Bloodborne 2, especially when you put that rally mechanic relic on. Oh yeah, there's Guardian. Yeah, I don't really like him that much. But hey, you know what? 7 out of 8. Not bad. Mechanically, Nighreign is a joy. The surge sprint feels incredible, climbing and mantling opens up exploration, and summoning friends without jumping through hoops is a godsend. No longer do I have to write a message on the ground, fiddle with a finger, and shove the finger up my ass just to get a friend to join for one boss and fuck off. I actually just send an invite and we play. It's really great. No passwords, none of that bullshit. It's really, really nice. Combat is basically Elden Ring turned up a notch. It's faster, tighter, and more varied thanks to its character-specific skills. I love the dynamic events that spice up a run, being ambushed by Morgott while underleveled, losing a level to falling locusts, or just encountering some of the stranger, more trollish mechanics that echo FromSoft's older gacha moments. I love it, and I think these pranks, they make the runs feel hilarious. I personally, and I can't speak for everybody, but I don't mind these pranks, and honestly, I would love to see some sort of version of these emergent challenges come into a future single-player game. I don't know how they'd balance that and work it out, but that's just something I'd really love to see. The rotating Everdark Sovereigns are another really great standout. Familiar bosses with reimagined movesets and mechanics are a lot of fun. Even though I gotta be honest, the last few Everdark Sovereigns have not been amazing. Sentient Pest, I really did not like Libra. Unfortunately, that one was a big letdown. Caligo also notably was not my cup of tea either. The rest of them are mostly pretty good. We'll see how Gladius turns out. By the time this video comes out, Gladius will be out. Hey, maybe I'll put on screen or in the comments what I thought of Gladius or something, I don't know. The Shattered Earth events, which shift the map and force you to re-strategize, are also excellent additions. I love the tangible change to the map that they make, and you can sort of plan your route around these things. Like if you're doing Caligo, for instance, and you have the mountain, obviously you really want to prioritize that. I really love these, and I just kind of wish there were more of them. And that's gonna lead us into the drawbacks of this game. My biggest issues really lies in the early game boss pool, like the day 1 and 2 bosses. I'm gonna be honest, a lot of them just suck. They're not even uninspired. It's more so that they're holding back. Like FromSoft, guys, I promise you, nobody is excited to fight another worm face with a bunch of rats. Nobody wants another Royal Revenant. Nobody wants to fight the Tibian Mariner with a bunch of skeletons. It's just the Skeleton Lords from DS2. Nobody wants that. This game has some really cool encounters with classic Souls bosses. So why aren't there more of them in place of these less interesting fights? I felt like with a game that is so far removed from any form of canon that this would be the perfect time to just throw a bunch of wacky stuff at the wall. Why are they not doing it? Where's Artorias? Where's Ornstein and Smo? Which would be perfect, by the way. Where's the Pursuer or the Dark Lurker? Like, there's so many great bosses they could pull from the trilogy, and I'm just baffled that instead we have bosses that are like Royal Revenant. Like, why? Even bosses from base Elden Ring, like Moog or Melania, would be welcome additions. Which also begs the question, where are all the Shadow of the Erdtree weapons, bosses, and enemies? They would do so much to spice up the game. The map has also been a point of contention for a while. I personally don't mind it being one map that you have to learn and properly route and speed through, but I'd be lying if I said the Limgrave aesthetic hasn't gotten a little stale. I'd love to see other biomes like Liurnia, Caelid, Altus Plateau. Anything to visually shake things up would just be really welcome. I also wish there were more random events. The ones we have are great, but they occur infrequently. The game would benefit a lot from just more chaos and surprises, just more FromSoft weirdness. I'd love to see a feature where the Shifting Earth variant is randomized as well, rather than chosen, to reintroduce unpredictability. Right now, you can pick your biome post-launch, but that kills some of the tension for me a little bit. A 1 in 5 roulette mode would be a really fun way to bring back that mystery. Now, if you've heard all of my complaints so far, you'll notice that the common thread is just more. That's really all this game is lacking, is it just needs a little more. Everything that's here is great, it just needs a bit more. It needs a bit more world events, it needs a bit more bosses, it needs a bit more, shifting earths, it needs a little more randomization. Back to the things that I like, because, there is still a lot more that I like about this game. I want to talk about the Nightlords a bit. I absolutely love most of them, and if anything, I think they're all at least interesting ideas and mostly enjoyable with friends. Gladius is a great introduction to the systems and incentivizing co-op play. Gaping Jaw is fun in my opinion, except for the one time at launch where his one move would tank the frame rate. Fulgor's fast pace is excellent and endlessly addicting to maneuver around. And Healstore, as you know, favorite FromSoft boss of all time. I already made a video on that, so I won't rehash it too much, but just the way that that fight integrates itself beautifully into the expanded Souls mechanics that Nightreign has in this impossibly intentional and curated way, it makes my head spin. He's so impressively designed. I just love that guy. Caligo might be my favorite dragon fight in the series. The spectacle is top-notch. I love the way she looks. Getting around her moveset is really engaging, especially when you're playing Wilder and you're using like the grappling hook to get around her. And that music. My God, that music. Endlessly inspiring, haunting, emotional, one of the all-time great boss OSTs in my humble opinion. Least favorite fights, I got some, of course. As I mentioned, Sentient Pest, not great. Especially that Everdark version, holy shit. The baby Elden Beast thing, Marias or whatever, also just kind of boring. I like what they did with it in this Everdark Sovereign version, basically using like the Storm Ruler from Demon Souls and Dark Souls 3. I do think it needed to be a little tuned differently. Libra, that's another one. So I actually do like this guy a lot. His deep mechanics that change the moveset based on the player's actions make him arguably one of the most unique fights in the franchise. I think he's awesome. But again, as I said earlier, that Everdark version is just not it. I think it's really, really lame. In terms of other things I like, the big thing for me is this game's narrative and world building. Nightreign really nails it here. The stories of Wilder and Duchess especially stand out, with Wilder's arc offering the kind of tragic finality that defines a classic Souls ending. Revenant's story as well is just so tragic and honestly horrifying. The cutscenes that ensue in that feel like they're ripped straight out of Bloodborne. Every character just feels so well crafted. I think a big thing I love about it is how the game paints a larger picture of the world outside the Lands Between through journal entries and of course character backstories and lore fragments. As someone who loves Elden Ring and ranks it as his favorite game of all time, tied only with Persona 3, any expansion on this universe is something I deeply appreciate. Just really, really loved everything that this game was doing narratively, and I cannot wait to see what they expand upon in the DLC. So I'm adding this part in while I'm editing the video, actually, because I just realized I hadn't even talked about this. Something that gets criticized about this game a lot is asset reusage, and I just kind of wanted to say something a little bit on this. There's a really great video from Maximilian Dude. I'm too lazy to find the clip, so I probably won't find it. But in this clip, he talks about how with MVC2, people criticized it initially in the arcade scene for asset reusage and just feeling like they had seen all this before from their previous games. But over the years, obviously, now it's been considered one of the best fighting games of all time. And it's sort of because they took those assets and recontextualized them and put them in a new sandbox. I really don't think asset reusage is a problem here, to be honest. And it's not like FromSoft hasn't done this before. It's just a little more overt in this case. And the fact is, they put these assets in there and again, they recontextualize them. They make them work within this new type of game. So yeah, I just don't think that criticism holds a ton of weight. I think the criticism really lies in lack of content in certain areas, lack of variety of content in certain areas. Because if we really want to go back and say that Nightreign is bad for the fact that it reuses a bunch of assets, then we have to go back and say that about not only a bunch of other Souls games, but we have to also go back and say that MVC2 is a bad fighting game because it reuses a bunch of assets from all of their previous games in that series. And are you really gonna say that MVC2 is a bad fighting game because of that? No, I don't think so. To wrap this up, I want to talk about something that some people might feel some sort of way about, but you know, this is just how I feel. To be honest, I really love this game. Like I said, the big issue with me basically just comes down to I want more. And honestly, if they could have like a small studio, like, or a small team, like the team the size they have right now, and they were able to keep pushing free updates and occasionally releasing paid DLC with like new characters, biomes, and Nightlords every like 6 months to a year, I would support that, honestly. Like, if they kept this game going for a long time and just kept supporting it, listening to community feedback, and made this, like, for lack of a better word, their like low-key live service game, but not in the exploitive, you know, microtransaction heavy way other studios do it. You know, like I said, just keep doing free updates with new stuff and just adding meaningful paid content. I'd play the shit out of this for as long as they want to keep updating it, like, genuinely. I really like what they have here. So where does that leave us? Nightreign is messy, experimental, and sometimes underdeveloped and leaving me wanting more in a few ways, but wildly ambitious in a way that only From Software can pull off. It's not a game that plays it safe, and it's definitely not trying to please everyone. Some players are going to bounce off it hard, and that's fine. But for folks like me who love the Souls formula but don't always have the time or energy for a big, like, double-digit hour odyssey, it's a godsend. It scratches that Souls itch in quick, intense bursts, while still feeling deeply connected to the lineage of what came before. Whether you see it as a side project, a spiritual spin-off, or a bold new direction, or just a bump in the road if you really just didn't like it, it's something at least really unique and novel, and I appreciate the big swing that FromSoft took on such a unique project like this. I honestly couldn't tell you what kind of person Nightreign is for, but I do know that it's absolutely for me. Hey everybody, just popping in here at the end to say thank you to our members, Alpha Kenny Asian, Barbalith, and Deep Freezes. If you'd like to become a member, feel free to click below after you subscribe. There should be like a button that says join. You get videos 3 days early. You get your name shouted out at the end of the credits of every video, and also something I'm thinking about doing soon. I'm gonna start watching some more like TV shows and movies, and I'm gonna be including full-length reactions to said TV shows or movies, full-length watch-along reactions, and those will be exclusive to members whenever I start doing those. So feel free to join if you want. It's $3 a month, and it helps support the channel. So thanks for watching, and take it easy.